One of Breath of the Wild's most underrated aspects is its cast of characters. For gameplay reasons, the game doesn't spend too much time on its story, but despite that, each character has their own individuality and brings something to Link and the world around them. Hi, I'm CJ, and welcome back to the channel. Today, we're going to rank all of the most important NPCs in the game, from the purest angel to the incarnation of evil itself. So get yourselves comfortable, and let's jump right into it. Hestu is up first as the goodest character. The reasons are pretty simple. Hestu is a gentle Korok who enjoys playing music with his maracas, which he unfortunately loses before the start of the game. When Link recovers them for him, he proposes to upgrade his gear for him. Despite his size, Hestu, like most Koroks, acts very similarly to an innocent child that is just enjoying his life. That is why Hestu is first on the list. Next up is the chief of the Korok Forest, and a recurring character in the series, the Great Deku Tree. The Deku Tree acts as a father figure for the Koroks and other inhabitants of Korok Forest. He has been watching over the Master Sword in his pedestal for all of Link's 100-year slumber, which gives him a pretty important role in ultimately defeating Ganon. The amount of patience and the grandfather vibe he gives off earns him the number 2 spot for goodness. Yunobo is the descendant of the great Goron hero Daruk. As such, he has inherited the power of Daruk's protection, but also he has to fill the large shoes of a national icon. Due to this, Yunobo is initially easily frightened, and generally lacking in self-confidence. However, as he works together with Link to save his hometown of Goron City, he becomes braver and willing to take hits for the people he cares about, showing some impressive heroism. Such growth and compassion is why he's third. Paya is the granddaughter of the Sheikah clan leader Impa of Kakariko village. Paya is the exact definition of a shrinking violet. She has a hard time speaking with strangers, and stutters a lot. In her first encounter with Link, she can barely look at him, and has to hide her face during the whole conversation. As the game progresses, we see that Paya is a very dutiful person. Not only does she take care of her family's heirloom every day, she also does all that she can to support Link in his quest to defeat Ganon by providing him with exposition regarding the Sheikah and the Yiga clan. Such a precious cinnamon roll fits right in at number 4 amongst the goodest characters in the game. Up next, representing the Zora as their champion, is Princess Mipha. Mipha was the eldest child of King Dorephan, and Sidon's older sister. She was also Link's childhood friend. Mipha was a reserved but gentle soul with a gift for healing and proficiency with a spear. She was in love with Link and made a Zora armor for him, as it is a tradition for Zora princesses to make one for their future husbands. She, alongside the other champions, died during the calamity while fighting inside of her divine beast. A century later, after Link defeats Waterblight Ganon, she gives him Mipha's grace to aid him in his journey, and as a reminder that she will always be here for him. Her role as a healer is proof of how kind Mipha was. She cared a lot about the people around her, and wished to see them safe and sound. She was also a caring sister for her younger brother Sidon. Those qualities are why she takes the number 5 spot for the good guys. Following her is Riju, the current chief of the Gerudo. Due to her mother's passing, and her only having one child, Riju became chief despite her young age. As a result, Riju constantly doubts whether she will be as good a leader as her mother was. Her room being decorated with seal designs and the thunder helm not fitting her head are things that show that she is still just a young girl. She treasures her sand seal Patricia, as she is the only gift she has left of her mother. She's the only one who helps Link enter Vah Naboris and bring peace to the soul of her ancestor Urbosa. Riju is a young girl with big shoes to fill, and yet she strives every day to become a model leader for her people, to do what's best for it. Those pure ambitions place her right at 6th. The titular character of the game and series, Princess Zelda, is next. Despite her title as princess, Zelda has always been interested in becoming a scholar. Due to the upcoming calamity, the princess has been training to unlock her secret powers since she was 7, to no result. At some point, Pura and Robbie managed to excavate some ancient Sheikah technology. Zelda's more curious and scholarly side then led her to involve herself in thinking of ways to utilize this newfound technology, something that the king, her father, disapproved of. She became the leader of the champions and continued training to awaken her powers, still to no avail. It is only when calamity struck and that Link's life was in danger that her powers finally manifested, and it's with that same power that she managed to contain Ganon for 100 years while Link slumbers. When Link wakes up, she's the voice that guides him along throughout the whole game until they finally reunite after Ganon's defeat. Just like Riju, Zelda places the safety of her kingdom and the people she loves first. Even though she isn't a fighter, she takes up arms when her people need her most. The amount of strength she displays by keeping Ganon in check for a century is worthy of praise and of a place in the top 10 of goodness. Right behind Zelda is Link, the playable character and protagonist of the story. He was born in Hateno village and initially dreamed of becoming a knight like his father. His talent for swordsmanship led him to quickly climb up the ranks and be appointed Zelda's personal guard, as well as the title of champion. Mipha's diary reveals that when Link was 4, he visited Zora's domain. She explains that Link used to be curious, full of energy, and reckless. Zelda's diary, on the other hand, explains that the reason Link became silent as an adult was because of all the expectations on him as he was revealed to be the hero of legend. It forced him to keep his emotions in check and be as stoic as possible. A century after the calamity, Link wakes up, and due to having forgotten his duties, his old, more joyous personality comes back, and can be seen in his dialogue choices and general expressions. Link is as steadfast as it gets. He is ready to sacrifice his own emotions in order to fulfill his duty as hero. He also shows tremendous courage in doing so at the young age of 17, before he was put to sleep, of course. His dedication to doing good is the reason behind his rank. At 9th, there's Cass, the traveling Rito minstrel, who sings of old Hyrule legends with his bandoneon. He can be seen near the stables all over Hyrule. It's revealed that his teacher was a Sheikah poet from the time before the calamity with an unrequited love for Princess Zelda. He is married and is the father of 5 daughters, Kiel, Knot, Kotz, Kree, and Genli. Speaking to his family back in Rito Village shows that Cass is a beloved husband and father. Despite having chosen himself to go on his journey, Cass reveals that he feels homesick and sometimes wishes to rejoin his home, a true family man. Next up is Beetle, a recurring character whose sole role is to sell Link various items. He can be seen all over Hyrule near stables and sells arrows, materials, and a rotating cast of bugs. If Link shows him a beetle, he will reward him with a random food item or elixir. Beetle is the ultimate supporter. He's always available to help Link and does so with a smile. No matter which game you play, there's a good chance Beetle is there to hook you up with anything. He's just a really nice guy, so that's why he's on the side of the good. Right next to Beetle on this list is Kilton, the owner of the traveling shop Fang and Bone. Located in Skull Lake in Akkala, Kilton makes a living by selling monster parts, though he is only available from 9 p.m. to 5 a.m. Kilton is a fan of monsters of all kinds, and will accept any monster parts Link has in exchange for his own currency, the Mon. With Mon, Link can notably buy masks for various enemy types, and the Dark Hero set. Kilton is similar to Beetle in that he is a good supporting character who makes himself available to Link. He looks goofy and has a weird interest in monsters, but despite that, he has a good heart. I mean, his concept art even shows that he's painted fangs on his lips to look more monstrous. What a dork. Right after him is Impa, Paya's grandmother, and the leader of the Sheikah. She has been waiting 100 years for Link to finally awaken from his slumber, and is actually the one to reveal to him what happened a century ago. Impa is also the one who takes Link to not only recover the 4 divine beasts, but also to recover his lost memories, the 2 most important quest chains in the whole game. She also advises Link to search for the Great Fairy near the village. All in all, Impa serves as Link's guide and helps him a lot on his journey. The dedication she shows towards her mission is impressive, but she also showcases the warm love of a wise grandmother looking over the younger generation. All good things in my book. Just behind Impa, we have Pura. She's the director of the Hateno Ancient Tech Lab and focuses her research on runes. She is Impa's big sister, though her anti-aging rune has changed her appearance to that of a young girl. Pura's role is to inform Link all that she knows about the Sheikah Slate and its runes, while also being able to upgrade them for greater uses. She is assisted by another Sheikah named Simon. Pura is a genius, and despite her eccentric personality, made the decision to use her smarts for the betterment of the kingdom, a commendable decision. It was in grand part thanks to her that Hyrule stood a fighting chance against Calamity Ganon before his resurrection. As a result, we think she sits well at her rank. Then comes the final member of the old Sheikah trio, Robbie. He serves as the director of the Akkala Ancient Tech Lab, and his work revolves around Guardians. He's an old co-worker of Pura, and the both of them excavated old Sheikah technology, and notably the Sheikah Slate, before the Calamity. Robbie was also in charge of restoring the Guardians that the Hylian army was going to use in their plan to fight off Ganon. 100 years later, Robbie is in Akkala and continues to research Guardians with his wife, Jaren, and his son, Grante. He offers Link to create an armor set made to fight against Guardians alongside ancient Sheikah weapons and shields. Similarly to Pura, what makes him a good guy is that he decided to use his genius in the service of good despite also being a bit of an oddball. That's why they are ranked right next to the other, with Pura getting a slight edge due to Robbie not wanting to recognize Pura's genius, and him constantly calling the ancient oven by his first love's name while he has a wife. Next is Sidon, Mipha's brother, and the son of King Dorephan, making him the prince of the Zoras. Sidon is an optimistic, loud, and charismatic Zora who helps Link get inside Varuda. Due to his sister's love for Link, Sidon has no problem acting friendly around Link, when some other Zoras might not, due to them blaming Hylians for their princess's unfortunate death. This more peaceful approach is something he shares with his father. Sidon has it all, really. He's courageous, friendly, and just an overall great guy who loves his people and his sister. It's a no-brainer to put him amongst the good guys. Following Sidon is Urbosa. She was the champion of the Gerudo tribe and driver of the divine beast Va Naboris. Thanks to her power, Urbosa's fury, she had control over lightning and could use it to smite her foes. She used to dote on Zelda and treat her like a little sister back when she was alive. It's also revealed in the champion's ballad that she was friends with Zelda's mother. She falls in combat during the calamity against Thunderblight Ganon, and when the latter is beaten by Link a century later, she gives him her power to summon lightning. Urbosa was an ally of justice and served as a role model for Riju and Zelda, both because of her mix of strength and kindness. Being a champion only cemented her dedication to fighting for the peace of the land. Next up is her fellow champion, the Goron's champion and ancestor to Yunobo, Daruk. Daruk was generally calm, but whenever he was in battle, he would become excitable. With his Boulder Breaker and his ability, Daruk's Protection, he was a feared warrior on the battlefield. He ultimately met his demise during the Calamity while fighting Fireblight Ganon. 100 years later, he grants Link his ability to help him in his quest. An EX quest reveals that Daruk is afraid of dogs, as they've been constantly chasing him since he was a child. Due to being a Goron, Daruk was a little rough, but as is customary with his people, also a really chill guy. He was the kind of bro you could come to for anything, and he'd always be ready and willing to try and help. A very amicable guy. Up next, we have the current Rito warrior replacing Revali, Teba. His task is to protect Rito Village. Teba is first seen preparing himself for a solo assault against Va Meadow before he meets Link. After testing him, Teba offers his help so that Link can restore the Divine Beast. His leg gets injured during the mission, and he is then forced to retreat back to the flight range. After beating Windblight Ganon, Teba can be seen recovering from his wound, and hoping to bring his son, Tulin, to the flight range in the future. Teba is another character with not much screen time, however, he seems like a good father to Tulin. Plus, being the Rito warrior means that it is his job to protect his village every day, showing a lot of courage. He's, however, pretty reckless trying to fight a divine beast all on its own. However, it was all to uphold his duty as the protector of the Ritos, so it gets a pass. Then comes King Dorephan, the king of the Zoras, as well as Sidon and Mipha's father. Dorephan has been the ruler for over 200 years and is generally well loved by his people. He asks Link to help calm Varuda's incessant reign on the domain due to a risk of flood. He is the one who gives Link both the Zora armor Mipha made for him and her signature lightscale trident. Dorephan has been ruler of his people for many decades, showing he's a good fit for the role. The Zora stone monuments do reveal some information to add more to his character. They reveal that he truly loved his daughter, and felt guilt for her death many years after the fact. There's also a story where he single-handedly fought a guardian off when no one else in the domain could do anything to stop him. A kind father, and someone who fights for his people even though they are royalty? That's pretty impressive. A true good guy. Next is Kaneli, the head of the Rito village. He used to be Teba's mentor. He is more than 100 years old, as he recognized Link's Sheikah slate and assumed Link was the champion before correcting himself and thinking that Link was instead a descendant of the champion who inherited the slate. Not much is known about Kaneli, but he is the head of the Rito, and seems to have been for over a century. It's safe to assume that he's a good leader, and that's why he has held the role for so many years. A little less incredible than Dorephan, so that's why he's behind him. Following Kaneli, we have the boss of Goron City, and the founder of the Goron Group Mining Company, Buldo. Before Link's arrival, he and Yunobo would try their best at calming Va Redania, but without any success. Due to his old age, his back threw out and made him unable to assist Link and Yunobo. When Link comes back after restoring Redania, Buldo gives him the Boulder Breaker, Daruk's old weapon of choice, as thanks. Buldo doesn't have much of a role in this story, but he's the boss of the Gorons, so there's not much way he could be a bad guy considering how relaxed the Gorons are. He's also in charge of the Goron Mining Company, so he can clearly handle responsibilities. However, he doesn't seem to have been in these positions as long as the other two have, so that's why he's third behind. To finish off the rulers, we have King Hrom Bosphoramus Hyrule, the former king of Hyrule, and Zelda's father. He is the first character that Link encounters in the game, and helps him get accustomed to the world again after his long slumber under the guise of an ordinary old man. Later on, he reveals his true identity as former king, and gives Link the ultimate mission of beating Calamity Ganon. Back when he was alive, the king disapproved of Zelda's tinkering with ancient technology, as he thought that the only thing she needed to do was awaken her powers. Rome regrets the way he pressured his daughter to awaken powers that wouldn't manifest no matter how hard she tried. Eventually, he died, and it is his ghost that guides Link in the beginning of the game before fading away. Rome has a bit of a nuance to him. In his effort to try and help his daughter focus on unlocking her power, he strained his relationship with her. However, he was still her father, and all he wanted in the end was to see Calamity Ganon destroyed so that his daughter could be safe from harm. You could say he's a kind but clumsy father. That's why he's amongst the last good guys. The last member on the good list is Revali. He was the champion of the Rito, and the former Rito warrior. Revali was haughty, boastful, and disliked admitting defeat. He especially disliked Link because of his higher position and lack of expression. Revali fought with the Great Eagle Bow, and his special ability was Revali's Gale. He dies fighting Windblight Ganon, but when Link eventually defeats the latter, Revali begrudgingly agrees to help him out, and gives him Revali's Gale. Revali was a champion, but he was also arrogant and mean-spirited towards others for no real reason. Up until the end, he had difficulty admitting defeat. That difficult personality places him last on the good side. Behind him are Kotera, Terra, Kai'Sa, and Mija, the four great fairies of Hyrule. These four sisters have been alive for thousands of years, and all possess very different personalities, even if in the end they shower Link with some intense affection when upgrading his armor. Kotera is in Kakariko Village, and has been looking over it since its construction. Terra is in the Gerudo Desert under the Gerudo Great Skeleton. She occasionally uses Gerudo vocabulary when interacting with Link, as well as claiming to be able to read minds. She's also the eldest of the sisters. Kai'Sa lives in the Tabantha region, and she is the most blatant about her love for Link, as she invites him to live with her at her fountain when they first meet. She will also tease Link whether he decides to upgrade an item or backs out. Finally, Mija has her fountain all the way in Akkala. Unlike her sisters, Mija doesn't show much interest in Link, as she will be disappointed at how small he is compared to her, and also dismiss him if he talks to her without the necessary materials for an upgrade. The Great Fairies are not bad people, but they are pretty greedy. They fall into the neutral part, as they aren't agents of good, nor are they agents of evil. Next up is Maz Koshia, who is a Sheikah and serves as the boss of the final Divine Beast. He is extremely powerful, and can teleport, use elemental arrows, clone himself, and even enlarge himself. He can also be distracted with mighty bananas once in the fight. Not much is known about the monk's personality. Being a Sheikah, it's safe to assume he wasn't a bad guy, but as we see him in the game, he's neither good nor bad, so he's in the middle. After Maz Koshia are Farosh, Nidra, and Dinral, the three dragons who roam the lands of Hyrule. Their names are reminiscent of the creator goddesses of Hyrule in Ocarina of Time, Farore, Nayru, and Din. Just like the goddesses, they are each linked to one of the three springs of Hyrule. Farosh, the dragon of the Faron region, guards the Spring of Courage. Nidra, the dragon roaming Mount Lanayru, protects the Spring of Wisdom. And finally, Dinral, the dragon of the Elden region, is in charge of the Spring of Power. The dragons aren't aggressive towards Link. They are like animals. They just kinda exist and go about their business, being neither good nor evil. The first members of the evil side are the Choo-Choo. They are slime creatures that can be found all over Hyrule. Depending on which region they are in, they will adapt to it and gain certain characteristics. For example, white Choo-Choos on Mount Lanayru can freeze Link, while yellow Choo-Choos on Faron can use electricity. The Choo-Choo are pretty inoffensive and look extremely silly. They aren't much of a threat to Link, making them the least dangerous of the monsters in the game. After them are the Keese, who are little one-eyed bats that appear in caves or at night. Like with the Choo-Choos, they come in three elemental variants: fire, ice, and electricity. Keese are much more aggressive than Choo-Choo, as they will come in groups and attack Link at night and obstruct his view, and just generally being annoying. Next are the Octoroks. They are octopi creatures that primarily spit rocks at their enemy. Some variants shoot ice or water jets, while some hide themselves under chests to surprise Link. Octoroks display their aggression by constantly targeting Link with their rock shooting. They are much more dangerous than Keese, who are just bats in the end. Following the Octoroks are the Peblets, who are small stone creatures that hide amongst other rocks. They are pretty weak, however, and light enough for Link to carry them. They also come in different elemental variants. Peblet aren't very strong, but they are much stronger than Octoroks and Keese, so that's why they are behind those two. Obviously, after the Peblets are the Taluses, who are just bigger than Peblets. They all have an ore deposit on their head that Link has to attack in order to damage the Talus. When defeated, Taluses can drop valuable ores, like sapphires, rubies, and even diamonds. Taluses are big Peblet, so it makes sense to put them after them. Then we have the Yiga clan. The Yiga are a group of former Sheikah who have decided to swear their loyalty to Ganon. The Yiga and Sheikah have then been fighting for numerous decades. Yiga clan members can be found all over Hyrule either as Yiga Blade Masters or disguised as regular travelers. The Yiga clan hideout is located in the Gerudo Highlands. They have an unexplained love for bananas. The Yiga are still pretty low on the spectrum of evil because they are humans and can still go back to being on the side of good, like with Kakariko Village's Dorian. More evil than the Yiga clan is, of course, Master Koga, their leader. Despite his role, Koga is pretty lazy and spends most of his time loafing around and eating bananas. Creating a champion reveals that Koga is actually a name that is passed down by the leader of the clan to the next. Koga is the boss of the Sheikah, but he's also pretty goofy, making it a bit hard to see him as much of an evil person. That's why he's at the level of the smaller creatures in terms of evilness. Following Koga are the Bokoblins, who are goblin creatures that can be found everywhere in Hyrule, but mostly grouped in camps. They come in a large variety of colors as well as undead. They can wield any type of weapon from clubs to arrows. Starting with the Bokoblins, we enter the realm of creatures of evil, while before we were more in the hostile creatures category. The Bokoblins start us off because they are pretty stupid. Then there's the Wizrobes. The Wizrobes are magic users that tend to appear near ruins. It is theorized that they dance around such ruins because they're the ones who destroyed whatever used to be there. They come in 6 versions, the 3 standard elemental versions, and 3 upgraded versions of those elements: fire, ice, electric, meteor, blizzard, and thunder. They can teleport and cast magic using their staff. When defeated, they drop whatever they were holding and disappear. Their sadistic nature puts them a level above the Bokoblins. Up next are the Moblins. They are essentially taller Bokoblins. They come in the same variations and are often found hanging around with Bokoblins. They tend to use spears, bows, and great swords. Bigger, smarter, and stronger than Bokoblins? Yeah, they deserve their spot. The Lizalfos are like the Moblins. They come in numerous versions, and they can wield many types of weapons. Some of them even use shock arrows. They can also shoot water from their mouths like Octoroks. Because they have more weapons at their disposal, they are eviler than the Moblins. Right after that, we have the Hinoxes, a race of giant Cyclops. They are always found napping, and if Link makes too much noise near them or attacks them, they will wake up. Their big eyes are their primary weakness, but their feet are also a good target. If fought in a forest, Hinoxes can uproot trees and use them to hurt Link. They have many weapons and shields around their waist that they drop when defeated. Due to being some of the tallest enemies in the game, having much more HP than the average monster, and being extremely violent when awake, their placement feels appropriate. At the bottom of the top 5 of most evil characters in the game, we have the Guardians. The Guardians are ancient Sheikah weapons that were used to defeat Ganon 10,000 years ago. 100 years ago, they were excavated and restored to help fight off the Calamity, but Ganon used his malice and took control of the vast majority of the Guardians, including the Divine Beasts. As a result, they are hostile to Link, and will use their beam attack once they spot him. They come in various models: the Stalker, the Skywatcher, or the various Scout versions. While originally weapons for good, Ganon's malice turned them into some of the most dangerous enemies in the game, who will aggro Link from a significant distance. There are simply too many Guardians controlled by Ganon for them to be any category but evil, and within that category, they are amongst the worst, or best, depending on how you look at it. At number 4 are the Moldugas. They are large fish-like creatures that roam the Gerudo Desert. They swim underneath the sand and attack using their mighty jaws. There are 4 Moldugas, and when they are all beaten, Kilton gives Link a Medal of Honor for this achievement. The Champions Ballot DLC adds Moldug King, who is basically a stronger version of the Molduga. The reign of terror they've established in the Gerudo Desert, and the fact that they are one of the few overworld bosses in the game, justifies their placement at 4th. Rounding out the top 3 are the Lynels. The Lynels are some of the strongest enemies in the game. They are centaur-like creatures with varying versions that are each stronger than the previous one. They can charge, use shock, fire, or ice arrows, or use their Lynel sword. A good way to beat them is to straddle them and strike them while they are vulnerable. The silver-maned Lynels can sometimes be even stronger than the Blights, and even Calamity Ganon. Such ferocious beasts, with the potential to be even stronger than the Lord of Evil himself, have got to be at least the top 3, but for story reasons, there are 2 more enemies above them. At 2nd place are the Blights, who are servants of Ganon that were created to corrupt the 4 divine beasts. Water Blight Ganon corrupted Vah Ruda, Fire Blight Ganon corrupted Vah Rudania, Thunder Blight Ganon corrupted Vah Naboris, and Wind Blight Ganon corrupted Vah Meadow. By defeating each one, Link can restore each divine beast, and give peace to the souls of the champions that died fighting them. There's not much more to say, really. The Blights are evil incarnate, who murdered the 4 champions of Hyrule, and would have brought the end of the world if it wasn't for Princess Zelda. They basically act as the right-hand men of Ganon, so it only makes sense to give them 2nd place. Being the final boss of the game, it is only appropriate for Ganon to be the most evil character on this list. Calamity Ganon is an evil entity that has plagued Hyrule throughout its entire history. It first appeared 10,000 years ago, where it got sealed by the hero and the princess, aided by the divine beasts and guardians created by the Sheikahs. A century before the start of the game, Ganon came back and used his malice to gain control of the Guardians and created the Blights to corrupt the divine beasts. Thankfully, Zelda awakened her power and managed to contain him for 100 years while Link slept in the Shrine of Resurrection. When Link finally woke up, it was only a matter of time before the two faced off again, with this time Link emerging victorious and sealing Ganon once again. Wow, that was a pretty long list. If you stuck with us this long, you must have seriously enjoyed this video. So I ask if you're still here, please subscribe to get notified of our future videos, as well as like and share this video around. The more shares this gets, the more people see it, and it would really help us out. This has been CJ with Game Domain, and I'll see you again real soon.